Thank you to all of you for being here this morning. Very interesting and important topic that we're discussing. So I appreciate that. I was a agency director in my state, and one of our responsibilities as an agency was the food programs, and so this is something that's very dear to my heart as well. Mr. Raglow, appreciate your testimony. And you talked about informational poverty and also economic poverty, and made a distinction between the two. So could you just talk about that a little bit, the lessons you've learned in as it relates to case management, and maybe if you have some recommendations for other organizations that in those lessons, and maybe help me understand the difference between those two terms.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Informational poverty just simply means they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know how to access those resources or what's available to help them. It doesn't matter how many programs the federal government has if nobody knows, or the right people don't know how to access them. And if there's 70-some programs that assist the poor in some form or fashion, that's not orchestrated well, it's not coordinated well. And so you've got to orchestrate it at the point of contact with the individual client, and they need to avail themselves of those resources. Ms. Babcock made an excellent point that when you are suffering some form of trauma, which might be food insecurity, you're not thinking right. And so you're not making good decisions because you're dealing with the immediate, and so you'd say, well, that's a kind of a dumb decision. But if you're in poverty, you don't have the luxury of taking a longer-term view. And so you bring a case manager in who has a different vantage point, who can see their skills, who can see their problem from not get in the canoe with them, but help them navigate a path to a different outcome using those resources.
No, thank you very much. Mr. Collins, in your testimony, you discussed the We Care program. Wellness, comprehensive assessment, rehabilitation, and employment, which helps identify disabilities that individuals may have, but also their abilities.
Correct.
So could you talk a little bit about that, give you an opportunity to explain that process and what it actually means to those people that you're seeking to help?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman. We Care is an interesting program because it is a program that 100% of the people come into do not believe that they can work. That is how they got there. If they could have worked, they would have gone to a different program. They showed up at the eligibility office with a doctor's note or indicated to the eligibility specialist that they had some barrier to work. So immediately they come over to my program and we put them through an independent medical assessment. So we take in consideration the doctor's notes and information that they provide us, but we come up with an independent functional capacity outcome, if you will. And as you saw on the slides and the information that I think is really noteworthy is that after 10 years of doing this and after 485,000 incidences of these kinds of assessments, we keep finding that over half of the people who come in are able to work but didn't know it, and 33% can get better physically. Their health can improve and stabilize, and those too can go to work, and that quite frankly a significant minority are then tracked to federal disability. So in our program, all of the questions that are asked in the assessment are about what you can do, not what you can't do.
Yeah.
And the spirit of the program defines work as getting well, following through with your assignments, getting a job, or preparing for a job. So many of our components look very much like Mr. Samuel's components. We add to that to help direct people what we call a diagnostic vocational evaluation so that they understand their strengths and weaknesses and that they pick their own job. We do not pick jobs for them. They choose their own pathway. They choose the job that they want when they want to work. We support them through case management.
Great. Excellent. I appreciate that. Well, my time's running thin, but thank you again for your testimony. I yield back, Mr.